So next we come to the organization and the key people in the organization. We learned a little about the four directors, about the ownership stakes that both Thomas Venderby and his sister Jacinta Corey hold. But now we're going to look at that in more depth. And what we see is Thomas Venderby at the top. He's the managing director. And below him we have three directors heading three main areas. We have Jacinta Corey over sales and marketing. We have Joseph Perez over production. And we have Pene Lopez, who is the finance director. And it seems there's a functional business structure being operated by Mavis Venderby. Okay. A few things to comment then. We have, as we know, a 50% ownership stake held by Thomas Venderby and a 50% ownership stake held by Jacinta Corey. Yet, we have Jacinta reporting here to Thomas, and it raises the question, is there potential for conflict here? How well do they get on? Is Jacinta happy to report to Thomas, her brother, when they both have an equal ownership stake? It's just something to bear in mind. It could be an issue. There are some positives to note here, that there is no agency problem really to worry about here, because the shareholders and management interests are perfectly aligned, because of course the shareholders are Thomas and Jacinta, and they're also top management in the company, so there's no issue there with an agency problem. Okay, looking at the numbers in each of these departments, the sales and marketing team, there are 6 employees working under Jacinta. Under Joseph in the production team, we have 164 employees. And in the finance team, which is where you work, we have just 4 employees. So clearly we see the heart and soul of the company seems to rest within the production function. Okay, but 165 employees in total, it seems a little bit excessive. And we have to ask the question, are these all full-time staff, even though this is a very cyclical business? If that's the case, would it not be worth considering bringing in more part-time staff to help when production needs to be ramped up for the high sales season, and letting them leave when there's less of a need to have high production? Okay, looking specifically at Thomas, who's the managing director, and we have this information. So he's 40, and he recently took over from his father. He's worked in the family business as a production director. He's always had an interest in product quality, which Mavis Venderby seems to be renowned for. And here we have a little bit of an issue, I think, that he has responsibility for human resources. So we have this dual responsibility. There's an overlap here of roles. Is it wise for Thomas to be the managing director, but also to have responsibility for a separate area like HR? He is also not qualified in HR. See, these are some of the issues we talked about at the start, that you regularly see in family businesses. There's not a sufficient separation of roles, and perhaps not sufficient qualifications. He is very keen to expand the customer and product base. That's quite good news. And he wants to maintain the quality of production while also enhancing service and brand strength. So we have a picture here of a company that is already renowned for quality and wants to keep up that stellar reputation for high quality, for offering good customer service and having a strong brand, all good things. And it seems Thomas recognizes the need to diversify, to have something more than just the wooden beehives. So that's all good. So we sum it up there by saying this is a commercially focused managing director. He does have intimate knowledge of the company. Perhaps he has some fresh ideas. That remains to be seen. He's just taken over from his father. Previously, he worked in the production areas, which is probably the heart and soul of the company, it seems. But we have some problems here. The dual role I would flag as a little bit of an issue. Managing director and having responsibility for HR. I'm not sure that's a good idea. He also has a lack of external experience, which we will see is a little bit of a problem for Mavis Venderby as a whole. That is something that repeats with the other directors, except for Penny Lopez. And we wonder, is Thomas perhaps a micromanager? Is he getting too involved in the running of the day-to-day business? He's coming from the production area. Maybe the temptation to go back and direct proceedings under the production function is going to be strong. Thomas needs to resist that temptation. The finance director, Penny Lopez, this is your boss. This is someone you're likely to interact with quite a bit on exam day. It's likely that the unseen exam scenarios will be presented quite often with an email coming from Penny asking for your help, or you meet her somewhere and she needs you to write up a report for a meeting that she's going to attend with top management. They're typical scenarios for the operational case study. Interesting that Penny, who is a qualified accountant, she does have external experience, okay? She came from a manufacturing business. Okay. She's been a finance director for 2 years at Mavis Venderby, and she has responsibility for all financial and accounting matters. She manages your team, okay? So I see this actually as a positive. This is someone who has external experience, coming from a manufacturing business. Maybe she brings fresh ideas and understands the way another company works, which I see this as lacking in the other directors. Looking at the rest of the finance team, what we see is you have Cormac Jones, who's a senior finance officer, so more senior than you are, but maybe not so experienced. He's just newly qualified as an accountant. He's only been with the business for 2 months and has a wide range of responsibilities, okay? So he puts together monthly management reports, collates budget information, and he prepares the first drafts of the year-end financial statements. So a lot of responsibility for someone who is newly qualified and has only been at the company for 2 months. In other words, I see you having to lend Cormac a hand quite a bit in the exam. And here you are. Finance officer, you've actually been at Mavis Venderby for 3 years. So the expectation is that you know this company, you understand it, you understand the industry, and you need to demonstrate that in the exam. You're studying for your professional exams, and you assist both Penny and Cormac with their wide range of tasks. As I said before, you're likely to have requests, actually not just from Penny, but from Cormac as well, given the fact that he's such a wide range of tasks to perform. And then we see there are 2 other employees in this department, Susie Ronaldo, Duncan Scobie, who are finance assistants. It's not very likely you will have much interaction with them, but there you go. So, next up we have Jacinta Corey, who is the Sales and Marketing Director. We know she's Thomas Venderby's sister, and she has 50% ownership of this company. Jacinta's 38, and she's been the Sales and Marketing Director for 8 years. She's always worked in the family business, just like Thomas. So again, lack of external experience. She's a keen beekeeper herself, and has strong links with a number of regional and national beekeeping associations. So, These are positives. This is someone who understands the customer. She also has developed valuable relationships with the associations in Tuckland.